Hey everybody, how's it going? Drew with Turf Wright Lawn Care here, and today we're going to do an oil change and air filter change on a 2020 Stander X Gen 2 with a 28 horsepower Briggs & Stratton Vanguard. This mower has, I believe, about 115 hours, 112.8. So it's time for a 100-hour oil change, the end of the season here in October 2021. What I like to do first, pop the oil cap, creates less of a vacuum, then let the mower all the way down, the deck all the way down, pull the drain tube down, bring it out that way. Gets pretty stiff after being up in there for 100 hours or so. And I've got this small piece of plastic that helps you guide the oil draining. Just put it right into this pan here and create less of a mess. So unscrew that cap there, and then we let it go. So I've unscrewed the cap on the oil drain, and there she goes. Usually takes a couple minutes to make sure it all comes out, and then we'll go do the filter. So while the oil's draining, we'll pop off the air filter cover, just like that. Take the second filter off. As you can tell, pretty dirty compared to the new one. This filter has 116 or so hours, 112 hours. Yeah, so it's ready to be changed, and check out the main filter here. If the pre-filter is doing its job, this filter should be fine. So slide it back in there like so. Take the new filter right here, never been used, slide it over the main filter, push it in there real good so it seats. Take your cap, take a look, put it back on. Always want to make sure the breather part of it is at the bottom. So if it does suck anything in there, you can get it out. Alright, so time to put the new oil filter on. Oil filter number is 695396 for the Briggs & Stratton Vanguard 49E-8 engine. So we'll go ahead and do that. As you can see, the oil filter's in a great place. Hard to get to from either way you look at it. So I got a oil filter socket, if you will, in there already just to check, but I think I'm going to lower the deck all the way back down, and we'll get to it. Alright, so what I like to do is I'll use that channel again, that plastic piece, to help divert the oil to the oil drain pan, but I also used a piece of cardboard with some aluminum foil on it, just because I don't have a long enough chute. So what we'll do is get our ratchet down in there and just break it loose a little bit. Shouldn't be too tight to begin with. And what we'll do is kind of reach in from the bottom pull off our oil filter socket. Make sure the chute's nice and close to the engine block. Spin that filter off as fast as you can. And there you go. Oil's coming right out of the engine block. A little mess as possible. And yeah, we'll let it drain for a second and slam the other one on there. Another thing I like to do when I change my equipment's oil is definitely check, make sure you don't have any major leaks or leaks at all. Give it a good inspection down in the hydro area, make sure there's no branches and stuff like that that could potentially break a propeller or an impeller, catch fire, those kind of things. Super important to make sure you're paying attention to. And then just make sure your hydro levels are okay. It's kind of hard to do right now because the hydro oil is not warm, but clean off the sight glass and so on and so forth. So everything looks all right. I did have this breather cap go loose on me halfway through the season. Didn't realize it for like a couple hours, and it was making a little mess with hydro fluid. But we got it sorted, so it's all good. Just important to keep up on those things. Make sure your equipment lasts as long as possible. So a super important part of this process is to make sure the seal in the old oil filter is not stuck on the bottom of the block. If you put two O-rings on the oil filter seat, you will have a terrible seal and you'll leak everywhere. So super important to make sure that you have that situated and straightened out. Another important part is to get a little old oil, rub it on the O-ring. You don't want to put a dry O-ring on the block. This promotes a better seal as well. Some people will fill the filter, some people won't. If it's a vertical filter on the bottom of a car, for me, I usually will. Since this one is on the side of the block, I won't, just to prevent making a mess. And go ahead and put this bad boy back on. That's all the tighter you need to go. Just a couple tight spins and that's it. If you put it on too much, it's going to be a bear to get off. So the factory oil filter for me on this machine was super hard to get off, and I had to beat it up. So that's it. So yeah, we'll fill this up with 2.1 quarts of oil. And we'll get it rocking and rolling for the rest of the season here and in the next season. All right, so we're going to put 2.1 quarts of oil in this machine. So I got a funnel just because it's kind of difficult to get back in there. And just pour it in slowly so it doesn't overflow out of the dipstick. Try to give the dipstick some room to breathe there. You definitely don't want to let the dipstick overflow because that's a huge mess. And back where this fill tube is, it is quite difficult to get to. So this way, a little slower, less likely making a huge mess. Overall, saves time. So that's what the name of the game is: saving time, getting a lot done. Now this oil I'm putting in is a 2050 weight Kawasaki oil. That's what my dealer had when I bought it. So that's what we're using. Shouldn't be a big deal. This machine won't be used in the winter anyway, so nothing to really be worried about, honestly. It's a proper rated oil. This is a API Service SL. So quality oil, Kawasaki quality brand. I mean, like I said, can't really go wrong. Alright, put a spot of oil in from this 3rd quart. And we'll put the dipstick in. Start it up for a minute. Check the oil level. And add accordingly. Get you guys off the mower here. That should be quite long enough to figure out whether or not I need to add, and then later on I'll continue to check it regularly as usual. I usually check my oil levels every morning before service, before I use the mower. On these Briggs & Strattons, it's recommended to let the dipstick cap seat. However, do not turn it to lock it. And then pull it out. That'll give you a better idea of how much oil you have. And as we can see, got oil registering on the dipstick, which is a good thing, naturally. We're a little low, so put this back in. Add a hair more. And that should be good. Fire it up one more time. Let the oil cycle through. Check it again. We should be good to go. One last check. Perfect. Right in between the two lines. As you can see, looks great. Perfect amount of oil. Don't want to run these 4-cycle small engines over on oil, so I'd rather add some every once in a while than put too much in. So, all right, thanks again for watching. This is Drew with Turf Ride Lawn Care. If you have any questions, put down in a comment. Be sure to subscribe and like this video to see more content, and we'll see you in the next one.